Where did you attend college?
Well, I went to 3 different institutions of higher learning. I went to, when I first came to America, I went to a very small school called Mount Olive College. It was a junior college at the time, and then it became a 4-year school afterwards. And then I came to High Point University, and then I went for graduate work, University of North Carolina in Greensboro.
Excellent.
What was your first full-time job?
My first full-time job, like after college, was when I came out of graduate school, and I began a direct mail company, whereby we would come up with these catalogs, and we would put leadership materials advertised in the catalogs, and then we would mail 30, 40, 50,000 catalogs, hoping people will send back orders and buy. So it was right here in the city of High Point. It's a company I started, and then I sold the company 5, 6 years later and became a full-time professional speaker and started a consulting company after that and so on.
How exactly did you get into that business?
Well, that's a good question. When I was in college, I worked as a youth leader in a church here at High Point, and I was always frustrated. I couldn't find books for games to do with young people, retreat ideas, and I said, I want to start a company that does exactly that. So I started this company, and I would hire other youth leaders to write up ideas or send them to me. I would reward them with a small gift, $10 or a subscription to a magazine I had called Adventures with Youth. And that's how it came to be. I knew the need was there, and I started the company, and we did very well.
Excellent.
What was one of your earliest business achievements?
Well, one of my first business achievements, I would have to say, was when I was like 25, and somebody asked me to speak to a group, and somebody heard me there and liked me and booked me maybe 200 times over the next 3 or 4 years to speak to executive clubs across America. It is similar to when in 1981 or 82 I was speaking to a professional group, and a guy in the group came up to me and said, you ought to write a book. And I said, well, gosh, I would, but how would I publish the book? He said, well, I happen to be a publisher. And that was Prentice Hall, which is today Simon & Schuster.
Oh, wow.
And so I wrote 3 books, and they published all 3 books in 1983, which is a pretty remarkable deal.
That's excellent. Now, I'm sure a lot of people have very similar questions on our mind in terms about your success and here at High Point University. And one of the questions that I have is, what is it about High Point that keeps you here?
Well, I mean, I remember I came to High Point, then High Point College, to go to school.
Sure.
And when I graduated, went to graduate school and so on. And then I stayed here. I've lived here all this time. Mm-hmm. And then in the early 1990s, High Point University asked me to be on its board of trustees. Mm-hmm. And then in 2004, I was the incoming chairman of the board of trustees. I would have become the chairman of the board of trustees. And they came to me and said, look, we need you to be president. Will you consider to be president? Which I did not say yes to. I took 3 or 4 months to think about it. Mm-hmm. And then I realized that the 2 organizations come together nicely. I care deeply about the city of High Point, and I care deeply about my alma mater, High Point University, and therefore maybe I should do that. So that's why I did that. Now, I thought honestly I'll do it for a couple of years, make a few achievements and move on. I came here and I just loved it. I love the students. As you know, I relate to the students very well. I love the students. I love the fact that the board let me kind of do my thing, as long as there are no surprises and keep us informed. So I feel very entrepreneurial. I feel a sense of responsible independence, and then of course the next thing is seems like everything we touch turned into gold. So we're very, very successful today. We're a marvel of higher education. How we, in the midst of the most disrupted economic times in America's history, called the Great Recession, we were able to continue the path of building the school. And as I speak to you today, for example, we'll have maybe 11,000 applications for the freshman class in the fall, and we have only 1,400 spots in the class. This is pretty remarkable. And it's also interesting to me, although I can't talk about it publicly, but it's very interesting to me who's applying to High Point, who really wants to come to High Point. I mean, today, for example, major Hollywood star, his son wants to come to High Point. To a family that's probably one of the most recognized families in all of America, both in wealth and name. Their grandkid wants to come to High Point. So it's very interesting how we built this brand, and it's became a school of high definition, and therefore a high level of desire that people want to come here. So, I've been here 10 years now, and we've accomplished a lot of things, and I think the 10 years is going to be unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Many of the people who have come to visit the school have been amazed by what they've seen. People who know what the school was like before you became involved are even more amazed. How did you and your staff manage such an amazing transformation?
Yeah, I think your point is well taken. People who really knew the school before, therefore they had a frame of reference against which to measure High Point, are going to be much more amazed than you would be amazed, because I can show you pictures, but it's not the same thing.
Unless you were really there.
Unless you were there and felt it and saw it, you wouldn't understand the enormity of transformation. I mean, just think about simple metrics. 90 acres became 380 acres, so it's 4 times the size. 28 buildings became 114 buildings. 1,400 students became 4,300 students. A budget of 30 million became a budget of 220 million. Instead of raising $2 million a year in fundraising, we're raising $35 million a year. Instead of being number 17 in New York News World Report among best colleges in the South, we're number 1 3 years running. The campus looks incredible, even in the wintertime, when flowers are not blossoming. And yet, what I know in my head, this is nothing. I mean, we're expanding and improving every day. We're making the campus better. So how did we do it? Well, we had a clear vision of what we wanted to do. We wanted to be an extraordinary university. We developed a solid strategy. The strategy basically was all student focused. How do we make sure that every student gets the outcomes they need from their educational institution so that they can have a life filled with success and framed with significance? And we employed only practical systems, so there's nothing really frivolous at High Point. The people who come here and say, oh, classical music isn't that cute, don't understand the vertical essence of High Point. It's not about having classical music, it's about you shouldn't graduate from college having not been exposed to the finest arts of all time. And since I can't make you listen to classical music, by putting it in the air, you hear it whether you want to or not, and in the course of 4 years, it becomes part of your unconscious, competent mind. You don't have to go listen to it again, but it's not foreign to you. It'd be like trying a certain food from a certain country because you go to 1924 prime and because it changes every month. So slowly, without you realizing it, you're becoming a citizen of the world. Without you realizing it, you're transforming yourself as an individual. Without realizing it, you're growing in maturity. Your parents realize it much more than you do. And that's been my number one cause, is how do I attract the right students here and then really help them to be extraordinary, to become leaders like you guys have become, doing what you've been doing and the amazing people you've been interviewing. And so that's been our strategy. And we employ practical systems, no pie in the sky, no Pollyanna thinking, and then we execute like there's no tomorrow. As an example, this morning I was here very early. I spent an hour driving around campus. If you ever see me driving, and stopping and you say, is he lost? What's going on? I'm making notes. I'm watching every little thing, whether it's in a building, whether it's on a sign, whether it's an activity scene. I come day and night and watch, make notes. I come in and tell my team, the lighting on the activity scene is not good enough. The door in that building is not large enough. Those kinds of things. So we are very focused on meticulous details that can create the ultimate experience, educational experience, student life experience, and transformational experience. And so our team works hard, our team is innovative, our team is very committed to the culture that we have at High Point, which you're very familiar with. It's a culture of service and fellowship and learning and respect and so on. That doesn't mean we're a perfect school. We can't be a perfect school. No school is perfect. But I think people are amazed by our students and what they can achieve. And just imagine what happens in 20 years when you guys own your own businesses and you're done unbelievable things in life, and you're going to remember this. You're going to remember your alma mater. And that's why I don't worry about the future of the school. I think the future of the school is going to be unbelievable because our graduates will participate, get engaged, you know, whether it's giving money or giving time or giving leadership or opening internships and positions for our graduates. All of these things work together like a jigsaw puzzle to complete a complete picture.
I remember when you were sitting down with Malcolm Gladwell and he brought up Steve Jobs' the paint. Yes, and how, you know, if he cares something about as small as the paint, just imagine how much he cares about the business and the people that work there. And
that's exactly what we do here. We say if parents can see that we worry about a scratch on the wall, then they know we're going to worry about their son or daughter.
Absolutely.
And it works. And parents are very intelligent, and they know how to compare schools, and they know from experience, you know, what they get. And then they're very generous with us. You know, that's the other thing about a school. You have to raise a lot of money. You can't make it strictly on tuition. And so you need parents engaged, and you need others. And our parents are remarkable. I mean, parents of our students here last year gave us $20 million, for example. It's a remarkable story. And other schools are beginning to find out, well, maybe this can be done, and they're beginning to do that, which is good, because it makes America a better place.
Absolutely. Now, often in your freshman seminar, you give away teddy bears. Describe to us the purpose of giving away the teddy bears, and how did the idea of giving away the teddy bears come about?
Yeah, well, you know, in the President Seminar for Life Skills, which every freshman takes, and as you know, we also have a senior class for seniors for the graduate. I wanted to touch on subjects that typically in a university you don't touch on in the real life experiences of a classroom. Things like time management, energy management, things like leadership, communication, presentation skills, money management, and so on. And while, you know, freshmen can't really absorb it all, and it doesn't really, they're not going to remember everything you talk about, that's not the point. The point is that if I can create a zone in which I talk about those things, some of those ideas do penetrate, and some of those students do absorb what you're talking about. I know because they write me, they tell me later, they write me after they graduate and get jobs and so on. And one of the things I wanted to make sure our students learn is their responsibility as citizens of our world, which basically means that you have to be a steward of the life God gave you, a steward of the opportunities you have, a steward of the blessings and gifts and resources and talents and skills that you possess. And so how do you teach that? You know, so you begin to invent ways that are interesting, that are experiential in nature, so students can remember that. When you talk about, for example, our values, one of our values is generosity. You know, how do you teach that? You know, when you talk about gratitude, hence the bear, you know, how do you teach that? So under the session in stewardship, I talk about gratitude, that whining is the opposite of thanksgiving, that you ought to be a thankful person, that every day of the year ought to be Thanksgiving Day for you, that you ought to thank God the fact that you have eyes and ears and a brain and a body and parents and that you live in America and so on. And so the teddy bear is a tool to translate your gratitude in a meaningful way. And so the teddy bear is about saying people have influenced your life in some way. You are the sum total of the turning points in your life. And I talk about turning points in my life. My father died when I was 6, turning point. I came to America, turning point. Became president of my university, turning point. And in between, there are lots of other turning points. And so the tipping point, when you really begin to do good things, and you feel like you're really accomplishing things, you're now a person of influence and impact, you get there because of these turning points, the cumulative sum of those turning points. So in your life, and in your life, there were turning points. I don't know what they are, but you know what they are. It may have been a first grade teacher, it may have been a coach, it may have been a minister, it may have been a friend. Somebody influenced you in some measurable way. Somebody said something to you that tuned you in, toned you up, turned you on. Somebody believed in you. Somebody encouraged you when it was really easy to be disappointed in life. And so I give the teddy bear because the teddy bear reminds you of your childhood. When you were a little child, you had a teddy bear, you hugged the teddy bear, you loved the teddy bear. The teddy bear made you feel safe, made you feel warm. He was your companion and so on. And so I give this teddy bear and describe how the teddy bear resembles and represents all these things. And then I say, you know, take it, play with it, keep it, enjoy it, but before Christmas you must give it away. So in so doing, I'm really suggesting that sometimes you have to give something away that you really would rather keep. For example, time. You would rather have time all to yourself, but sometimes you have to give your time away. Money. People think they can just amass money until the day they die. But sometimes you have to give away something even like money that you really would rather keep, but you want to help somebody else who's in need. Think United Way, think benevolence, think philanthropy, and so on. And so I just came up with the idea of the teddy bear one day, and one of the reasons for the teddy bear is that American Red Cross raises money by selling these teddy bears. So we buy 1,500 teddy bears from American Red Cross. They make money out of it so they can help other people around the world in times of disaster and need. And so it's a double-edged sword. It really makes the point that much more powerful.
Excellent.
And I've gotten so many letters from students who tell me what they did with the teddy bear, but I've got letters from recipients of the teddy bear who say, this is amazing that a school even thinks like that. And they tell me the story about how it really created the atmospherics for love and joy and compassion because of it.
Absolutely.
In the same seminar, you have said that if you're afraid of failure, then you will never succeed. Would you mind sharing with us what have been some of your more challenging obstacles you face on your road to success?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's true. Out of adversity emerges abundance. So if you're afraid of failure, you really don't deserve to succeed, right? Because life is about finding ways to go around the potholes, right? And so sometimes you're going to fail. It's okay to fail. You make it a productive failure. You learn from it. You grow as a result of it. If you have a non-productive success, you don't know what caused that success, you can't replicate. So, of course, you always have difficult moments. You always have challenges. You cannot bat 1,000. You're not always going to be successful. You're going to make some mistakes. It's like buying stocks. You know, not every stock you buy is going to multiply in price. Some of them are going to fail. Some of them are going to lose some of their market value, and so on. And you know, my team and I have experienced that in a number of ways. We've experienced many more victories than defeats. But you know, we've been disappointed about sometimes how people respond to something we do. We've been disappointed sometimes how a student may abuse a physical part of the campus that we work so hard to build. We may be disappointed that somebody of financial means that we thought could participate in the school didn't participate in the school. But listen, there's a difference between disappointment and discouragement. It's perfectly okay to be disappointed. It's never okay to be discouraged. So you have to rise up, dust yourself off, and get started again.
Mm-hmm. Now, in the documentary called Nido Qubein, A Life of Success and Significance, and which recently was nominated for an Emmy, congratulations.
Thank you.
You say that your mother, you also say this in your talks, that your mother instilled in you many life lessons, one of them coming from, or it says this, if you want to be great, you have to walk in hand in hand with great people. Mm-hmm. Who have been some of the great people that you have walked hand in hand with?
Well, who you spend time with is who you become, right? It's like a koi fish. It grows proportionally to the environment in which it lives. If it's in a small fishbowl, 2 inches, it grows 2 inches. If it's in a big lake, it grows to about a foot in size, and so on. I've been influenced measurably by many heroes, models, and mentors in my life. Most of them are unknown to you and unknown to most people. They're not necessarily famous people, although I've read the autobiographies of probably 200 people, and I've been influenced by their thinking too, and by their actions and their contributions to the world. But I was influenced measurably first and foremost by my mother, of course. And then I was influenced by my house mother at Mount Olive College, who was a woman of no financial means, but a woman who believed that you should always give without remembering, you should always receive without forgetting. And I've been influenced by people in the city of High Point who stood by me when things were difficult. I've been influenced by people who partnered with me in business, took a risk at partnering, like helping to build a bank or helping to buy a Great Harvest Bread Company or something like that. So their names are not important necessarily to other people, but what they represent or what they stand for really very important. And the one thing in common, the one piece of the profile they all had, was that they believed in the fundamentals of America, what built this country, first place, which is free enterprise, personal initiative, having a set of beliefs that can lead you to behaviors and therefore results that can help you to prosper, grow, and do well.
Absolutely.
Continuing with, besides your mother, who are other role models in your life?
Well, I mean, they have been, of course, people like Mother Teresa, who's been a role model by all the good she's done. I like Ronald Reagan by his courage when he was president and what he has done. I've had lots of role models, you know, that, for example, when I became university president, I looked for other university presidents who have done interesting things, and I said, well, you know, that's interesting, I need to learn from them. I've learned from people in sports who you know, are tenacious, but mostly I learned from people for whom life has dealt tough circumstances. We have people, for example, on this campus who are challenged in some way, physical challenges. Young lady who's in a wheelchair, electric, I guess motorized chair we call them. And I watch her spirit, I watch her attitude, I watch her smile, even though she should be mad at the world, but she's not. She's not whining about the world. It takes her probably 5 times as long to get ready than you do or than I do. But she still goes to classes, still comes to games, she still goes to concerts. I'm highly inspired by people like that. People who have overcome adversity and achieved some degree of abundance.
That's excellent. Now, what are some of the habits for success you would encourage people to have and practice?
Well, I think the first habit is to have a work ethic. You know, you have to really believe that work is purposeful. Purpose leads to passion. Passion leads to energy. Energy leads to action. Action leads to results. Results lead to success. Success leads to significance. Significance leads to joy and happiness. And so, you know, in my life, I've learned that work ethic is important. Commitment is important. Managing my energy is important. I mean, today, for example, I've had 7 meetings, 8 meetings, I guess. I've answered probably 200 emails. You know, I've gone around campus and half a dozen things. I've been on the phone 6 or 7 times. I still have a dinner. Tonight I'm going to go home, change, come back, have a trustee dinner and concert and so on. And I began at 4 o'clock this morning, and I read from 4 till 5:30, and then I walked with my friend David, and so on. That's my day. So I have to parcel out my energy in ways that make sense. I've noticed that if I do things that I like, and if I talk about things I believe in, then energy is a renewable source. You don't really, you know, use up all your energy. It actually gives birth to more energy. It's kind of a, you know, a wonderful part of nature. And you know, I mean, you notice yourself, right? When you're bored and you hate what you're doing, you get more tired. But when you're not, you're ready to, you know, go out there and make something happen.
Absolutely.
And so these are some of the habits that I've had to develop, you know, in terms of, I think courtesy is a habit. I think civility is a habit. You know, calling people and honoring people is a habit. Those kinds of things I've developed. Habits in categories of building relationships with people, of being respectful of the resources I have, of understanding that being a leader is all about creating capacity, helping other people to become the best that they can become.
You've spoken at 100, if not thousands, of events throughout the years, covering topics from how to be a public speaker, to motivation, to how to be successful. What would you say is your favorite topic to discuss?
Yeah, actually, I've spoken some 7,000 times over the years, and mostly I'm interested in topics that propel us forward. So I'm interested in topics that have to do with leadership, personal development, communicating with people, growing your self-esteem, culturing and reculturing an organization, transforming an organization. Those are the topics that propel us forward. I'm interested much more in those, although I know a lot about decision-making and problem-solving and time management and those kinds of things, and those help as well. But I'm more interested in transformational topics than in transactional topics.
Excellent. And would you like to give a shout out to your family, your friends, your loved ones, and students here at High Point University?
Well, sure. I go Panthers, you know, first and foremost.
Yeah, go Panthers.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and I love the students at High Point University, as I love our staff and our faculty and our alumni and all those engaged in this community. And together we've been doing amazing things, really. We've been doing amazing things and helping in that way. 108,000 hours of service that we give on this campus, evaluated by $2.5 million a year in terms of the free time that students provide to help other people have a better life. And you know, I'm encouraged every day by how a team can come together and lose themselves in a common cause and do amazing things. You know, that gives me faith about the future and hope for the tomorrows of our life.
All right, excellent. Well, I know both me and Michael are very thankful for the time that you donated
Thank you
to us.
so much.
Thank
We
you.
really appreciate this.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Patrick. I'm proud of both of you, and I'm honored to sit here with you.
Oh, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you
really
very much.
appreciate it.